All right, welcome to another edition of the Fifth Down Show, right here on the KJC Radio Network, broadcasting live via Blog Talk Radio, simulcast on Snowman Digital Media, on YouTube on the Fifth Down channel, setting the scene on the Fifth Down channel, on the Rod Uncensored podcast, all radio streaming apps. Of course, we have our Spotify page. We have Facebook Live going. We have all of that stuff up. However you may be listening to the program, we thank you for coming along. This will be a collaborative view where usually we are breaking down sports and all of that, and we save the entertainment stuff for setting the scene. However, tonight we are collaborating because it is time to break down Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Of course, we are coming to you live from West Haven, Connecticut, live in the Gino Naz studio. So we've got all of that going on. We're going to try to bang this out before the before we get to Celtics versus Heat tonight. So I can get out and watch a little bit of that game, see what happens there. So we will we'll touch on all of that. So we'll get into all of that. But as far as this movie is concerned and why it's taken so long to get this out is, one, I have been racking my brain trying to figure out where to put this movie and how to put it into context of where it fits in the Guardians universe, where it fits in the Marvel Cinematic Universe overall, and just overall the weird intrepidation that this movie has brought out in people. And so I want to open with, this is going to be a review of the movie. We are going to, if you're not here for, you don't like spoilers or whatever, fast forward to a random point. Hopefully we'll be done with the review. Hopefully we'll be done with the breakdown by then, and you'll get to, you'll get our analysis of the movie, because there is a lot to break down in this movie as it unfolds, and you'll see it. For those of you viewing this on YouTube, you can see it in the title. The title, when I watched this movie, it is A.D.D. the movie. It is Attention Deficit Disorder the movie. That's what you get. It is scene. It is dramatic scene, fight scene, jokes, flashes. And by the way, Latina in Cali, thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us tonight. We're glad to have you along on the YouTube side. So, like I said, this movie is just scene after scene after scene after scene after scene, and that's why we have to do it in a way that we have to break down the movie in order for you to understand where I'm coming from, as far as it's just a mashup of this scene, that scene, this scene, that scene. It's flashbacks. It's let's see rockets pass, to let's fast forward to the present, to let's go to this place, let's go there, we have to go here, we have to go there. Everybody's running around like crazy, and the movie is never given a chance to flesh itself out. That's what kind of happened in this movie. So in order to break it down, we have to break it down scene by scene and let you know what's going on, so that you can get kind of the point to this. And I wanted to talk about reviews. A lot of people say, "Oh, I go to a review to see if I want to see the movie or not," or if a movie gets a bad review, they say, "Oh, bad reviews are what drain." No, Reviews are not going to turn me from, they're not going to turn me from, I don't want to see this movie. Oh, I saw a good review of this movie. Now I'm going to go see it. Or I'm excited about this movie. Oh, I saw a bad review. I'm not going to go see it. That's not how reviews work. That's not how reviews should be. A review should be, I saw the movie. Here's what I saw. Here's what they did good. Here's what they did bad. Here's how we can fix it. Hey, Pizzle, what's up? Seeing you in the chat. Thanks for coming along, bud. So like I said, reviews they should not tell you, they should not form your opinion. They should not form your willingness to go see a movie. If you are excited about it, if you saw Guardians of the Galaxy and you thought it was a great movie, awesome, fantastic. If you went to see it and you hated every second of it, that's fine too. That's why we have these, that's why movies exist. That's why people exist. We exist because we're not all the same. This movie is going to hit with some people. It's going to hit in some areas. It's not going to hit in others. What a review should do is tell you where the movie went right and where the movie went wrong. And why it's taken me so long to get this out is there are a lot of reviewers out there that I know, well, not that I know them personally, but that I have gotten attached to, and I trust their information. I trust their process. And I'm telling you right now, all of the reviews are split. I haven't seen one review of this movie's great. I haven't seen one review of this movie's terrible. Here's why. Every single review of this movie is, well, it's 10% good, 90% bad. It does well in these areas. It does poor in these areas. There is no consensus on this movie. And I've been trying to wrap my brain, trying to figure out why that is. And I think this is a symptom of the MCU as a whole. The MCU, Guardians of the Galaxy is showing you that Phase 4 was just god awful. Because the people that are praising this movie are saying it's good compared to Phase 4. That's like comparing, you're comparing garbage to crap. And if that's your standard, then what are we striving for? If your goal is just be better than the crap that was produced before, well, that's not a good standard. A standard for this film, and David Glenn, thank you for being there. Thank you for coming along as well. Better than Cats, huh? Well, that's a rough bar. That's like we go back when I look at stuff. A hurdle to get over. The MCU has to get. It's like steeplechase size hurdles. If you've ever seen a steeplechase, you know what I'm talking about. Okay? Getting above Phase 4 in the Marvel, getting better than She-Hulk, getting better than Ant-Man, Quantumania, performing better than those movies is like that's like doing if you ever did track, if you ever seen somebody warm up for track, it's like the little track hurdles that are like yay high and they're just meant to get your ankles up over. Those movies were garbage. We did a review of Quantumania. Go look at our Quantumania review to find out what we thought about that. But that's where this movie lies. This movie had so much, and I think my problem with this movie, because I've talked to many people, and I've talked to people that have seen it multiple times. I have talked to people that saw it once and told me it was garbage and they hated the entire movie. And I've seen people that have loved it enough to see it multiple times. That's how it goes. That's the spectrum of this movie. I have been trying to figure out where I fit in this, and I think by the end of this review, we'll be able to slot my thoughts on this movie. But my process and what I want to do is I want movies to be great. I want to sit down in a theater and watch a movie and feel invigorated after. For context in general, I saw Air over the summer. When I got out of Air, I couldn't wait to tell people about it. That night, getting out of the theater, I was texting people that I knew, you need to go see this movie. It's awesome. That's how excited I was about that movie. That's how excited I felt when I got out of the theater. When I left the theater for Guardians of the Galaxy, that wasn't there. It was, all right, that was a movie. Okay, here we go. So but the point of a review, is not to push you to go see a movie. It's not to keep you from seeing a movie. The point of a review is to give you, here's the movie, we saw it, here's what was in it, here's the breakdown of it, here's why this scene is important, here's why this scene works, here's where this movie fits in the overall process of whatever entity you're talking about. We're talking about Marvel here for a minute. So where does Guardians of the Galaxy fit within its own universe, within the Marvel universe? Where does it stand? Those are the things that we are trying to do. And this is something I want to bring up. So, Latino, we're going to get into this later on, and you're absolutely right. The mainstream media will always lie to customers, so they can fool us and trick us into giving them some of our money. They should not have to trick you, and you should be at a point. You know what? We are at a point where they don't have to trick us anymore. You can find reviews of stuff. If you're excited to go watch something, go watch it. Do not let anybody else tell you, don't go see this, you'll be disappointed. Find out for yourself. Or don't let somebody tell you, you have to see this movie, it's amazing. Find out for yourself. Always find out for yourself. If you're excited about something, go see it. If you're not excited about something, don't be tricked into going to see it, because you don't have to anymore. There are plenty of people. You can go watch Mueller. You can watch Critical Drinker. You can watch Nerdotic. You can watch this program. You can watch Jane Theory. You can watch there are so many YouTube channels out there that break this stuff down that you don't have to go see a movie. Going to see a movie should be an experience for you. It should be you enjoying what you're seeing. And that's the problem with media today, is the media is telling us what we need to see and what we don't need to see. And that's not the role. That's not the role that we're in here. The role we're in here is, I saw the movie, here's what happened in the movie, and let's talk about why what we liked, what we didn't, why we liked it, why we didn't, and what would have made it, for the parts we didn't enjoy, what would have made them better. That's what this is about. This is about making the experience better for everybody involved. All right. So that's just a quick intro to this. So let's just dive right into the movie. I'll give you a breakdown of what's happening, and so I'll do the breakdown. Then I will give you my overall thoughts after we do the breakdown. So anyway, so Guardians of the Galaxy opens up with it opens up with an intro to Rocket. We get a flashback. Rocket is in a cage with a bunch of other raccoons. Now, as someone who works with animals in cages, this scene really hit me right at the beginning because I work with animals all the time. I work with ferrets. That's probably the closest thing to raccoons that I work with. And this scene, while it's dramatic and it sets the tone for what the movie is, as somebody who works with animals, that's not how. Yes, I know they wanted to show, the animals cowering, and they've been treated horribly, and that's what they wanted to portray. That's not how animals act. An animal would some of them would cower, some of them would be scattering around, some of them would be in fight or flight mode. That's just how they are. So this scene right off the bat, I was like, okay, I was like, all right, well, this is weird. So we get the Rocket intro, and then it goes to the MCU, the Marvel logo, and you get all the Guardians of the Galaxy. You get flashbacks to everything, and it was cool. It was cool to see that, but this is kind of the Marvel trick. This is kind of what they've been doing. Black Panther gave us Wakanda Forever gave us all the shots of Chadwick Boseman. We had way back when when Stan Lee passed away, they did all the Stan Lee cameos in it. So this has kind of been a thing where Marvel is kind of using the Marvel logo to kind of just remind you of what has happened, make you feel nostalgic for it. So that's what happens. So that happens. So the movie starts out on nowhere. Rocket is listening to some music. So we get the classic Guardians of the Galaxy music flowing, and Rocket is kind of going through his thing. You get to see all the people. You get to see Sean Gunn, Cosmo, Mantis, Dave Bautista, or Drax. We'll get to that in a minute, but you get Drax. You get to see all of that, and all of that is callback to the Guardians of the Galaxy Christmas special, and all of that. So Rocket walks into what looks like a bar, and Nebula and Drax, they're hanging up a sign, and that's how you get the Guardians of the Galaxy sign. But they walk in, and Peter Quill is basically unconsolably passed out drunk. We understand. So we know that this is close to or related to Endgame, not to Infinity War, when Peter Quill is still trying to deal with the fact that Gamora's gone, and and so he's there, he's drunk, and he's just out of his gourd, and of course Rocket goes in, grabs a thing of milk and is drinking it, and it looks like they've got the milk in like a shot glass, a shot pourer thing. So it was that was kind of the joke there. It was interesting. All right, cool. But Rocket goes out, gets Nebula, and he's like, Peter's done it again. She goes in, grabs him. They're carrying him. Drax says, oh, no, not again. So this tells us that Peter Quinn has just been off his rocker ever since then. And it sets up the emotional display for the movie, is that Peter Quill is a broken man. He's broken up over the loss of Gamora. So that's where we get that. All of that is broken up by, before I get to the breakup. So they put Peter Quill into the bed. He says, I love you, Gamora. And Nebula is just like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to make him any better. She walks away, and there's a joke about Rocket having gravity shoes, which is important to the plot. Well, it would have been, but we'll get there. But I need to point this out now. Rocket had gravity shoes. Yo, I'm testing my gravity shoes. As like a joke to walk around the ceiling. We'll get to that later on. But that's what happens to Rocket. That's what Rocket's doing at that moment. At that moment, Nowhere is hit like a bat out of hell with an energy blast, and you find out that energy blast is Adam Warlock. And Adam Warlock comes in and he just messes up the place. And he's just taking people out. He's punching people. He's punching Drax. He's knocking people down. He took Nebula and put her through a wall. He, for some reason, blasted Rocket in the chest with an energy blast. And that's basically what happens in the scene. It's basically just Adam Warlock absolutely owning everything, which was awesome to see until the end of the scene when this guy is flying through buildings, but somehow Nebula is able to stab him with a sword. So I don't. At this point, I'm like, all right, what is going on here? What is this guy? There's some funny little jokes in there. Sean Gunn trying to use the needle thing that he got from Yondu. So that's happening. All of that is happening while the movie's going. So all of that's happening. Adam Warlock is kind of just destroys the place, and then he's kind of like, I got stabbed, and cuts Groot's head off, and he kind of just yeets out of the place. He could, I got stabbed, I'm out of here. And he leaves, and the place is all crazy. And they're like, and so they get Rocket into so they find out Rocket has a blast in his chest, and it sets up, all right, we need to put a med pack on him, which we'll get to the med packs. We'll do that at the end as well. So they put this med pack on him. Nebula starts scanning him and says, "Oh, take that off him now because he has a kill switch on him. If you try to revive him, it will kill him instantly." So that sets up the rest of the movie. Now, it goes from there. We get, once they mention the kill switch, we now get a bounce to Rocket in a cave. We get old school Rocket. They're experimenting on Rocket, and they're doing all the upgrades. And for all the people out there that said, "Oh my God, this is animal cruelty," and all of that stuff, if you watch Guardians of the Galaxy 1, you know if you've watched Guardians of the Galaxy, you know Rocket was experimented on. So I don't understand the criticism of this movie shows animal cruelty. Like, we know Rocket was cruelly experimented on. I guess seeing is believing, but we already knew this. This isn't new information. So I wasn't shocked by seeing it. It was kind of just, all right, so this is what they did to Rocket. To be honest, it was more tame than what I had in my imagination. So it didn't shock me. But we get that. So we get Rocket. Then we get Rocket after he's done. He's thrown in a cage, and we meet his friends. I guess there's like an otter, a walrus, and I think it's a bunny rabbit. I don't know what that thing was with the metal thing on its mouth, but we get that. So we get introduced to Rocket's friends. Then you get that scene. Then it goes back to the future, or the present, as we are. And Peter Quill, how are we going to save Rocket? And Nebula has done this whole download thing, and she says, well, we need to get the passcodes, which are located in some building, in some place. We have to go get them. So the movie becomes a MacGuffin chase of, let's go to what I don't even know the place that they went to. I just call it MacGuffins Are Us, because that's basically what it is. It's a MacGuffin chase. We have to go find this thing, to go find this thing, to go save Rocket and do all that. So they go, so they come up with a plan of, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. You know, this place has high security, so we have to break in. So because they have to break in, well, they need help. And Nebula calls the Ravagers, who show up. And the Ravagers show up. And we find out Gamora, for some reason, Gamora is with the Ravagers. How that happened, how she went from Thanos' disciple in Endgame to she's still around. We'll talk about that at the end, because that's one of the big problems with this movie. But we'll get there in a minute. But Gamora is there with the Ravagers, and she is there, and Peter Quill is clearly upset because he was not informed of this, and because he's seeing Gamora. But again, this is not the Gamora that he knows. It's the Gamora from before they even met. So it's totally different. We get the we get the plan, and they tell us what the plan is to break in. Now, the problem with this scene, it's great to see Sylvester Stallone on screen. The problem with this scene is I did not understand a word he said. I could watch this 5 times. I still have no idea what I have no idea what Sly Stallone at this point. Great to see him on screen. Had no idea what the hell he was talking about. Couldn't understand him one bit. So they come up with this plan to go get the MacGuffin, go get the codes and whatever. And basically this whole scene is just there to put the Guardians on some weird chase to get Peter Quill and Gamora together. Now, Peter Quill and Gamora are there, and Peter is trying to reach this new Gamora. He's trying to tell her, look, at some level, you have to understand me. And he's talking, and of course they break in with dumb jokes. Hey, Peter, we can all hear you, and all of that. The entire emotional part of that scene is ruined by trying to do stupid jokes. So that happens. They go in. Peter Quill Peter Quill is doing his Peter Quill stuff where I'm gonna get the codes. Don't worry about it. Tries to do his Peter Quill shtick and romance his way and con his way through, and ends up getting broken up because Gamora just says we don't have time for this, and she goes in and just runs amok. So we get that going on while all hell's breaking loose. Drax gets shot with an energy blast, and you're like, oh no, Drax is severely injured. Doesn't matter. He's fine. They get him up. They get him up. He's back to being normal in the next scene. So nothing happens to Drax. So you're like, oh well, good for that. So they go there. They get the codes, and they figure out, well, the codes are not here. They are in the head of some other guy. And now we got to go find this guy. And again, MacGuffins Are Us. It's just one thing after another. I've seen a lot of reviews, and my thoughts were exactly in the theater. This is the Mandalorian all over again. This is just the Mandalorian all over again, where it's we need this to do this, so go get that. Once you have that, no, we really need this, so go do that. And it's just here, there, and everywhere. So that's basically what this movie is. It's, all right, you need this, you need that, you need this, you need that. And yes, David, exactly. Apparently, Drax can take an energy blast. Apparently, that can happen. So they're here, there, and everywhere. Just everywhere, all over the place. So they go and they do that. They go, they get the heist, that, MacGuffin 2. All right, so this is when we find out that we get another flashback scene. We get to see the High Evolutionary, which is he is the villain of the piece. He's the guy that's been experimenting on Rocket. He's been the guy that's experimenting. He's trying to create the perfect society and the perfect people, and not even people. He's just trying to create the perfect creatures, because he's taking parts of different animals, parts of different mechanics, and putting them together and trying to just create the perfect things. So that's what happens there. That's the plot of, all right, this is why they're doing all of this. And they find that out. So they find out they have to go to this planet. And when they land on the planet, they notice, it looks like 1950s America. Everything is just cookie cutter houses. But they notice all the people walking around. They're what looks like people, but they're actually anamorphosized. I don't know if that's a word, but I'm going to use it. They're people that have been mutated into random things. I don't know why James Gunn went with this concept. I'm going to give a shout out to the drinker right now. If you want to understand why The Island of Dr. Moreau is one of the worst movies of all time, go watch the drinker explain it. Go watch the drinker break down Island of Dr. Moreau. That movie's awful. That's basically what this was. It was Dr. Moreau on steroids, this scene. And that movie didn't work when they made it. It didn't work here. It was just weird. It didn't look right. That stuff never will. And just it was basically like, all right, here's a planet of animal-looking people who act like people but have animal characteristics. It was just really weird. It didn't work. There were jokes thrown in there, like Drax laying on the couch, but they're yelling at him, and that's basically what happens this entire movie. They basically just yell at each other at random points to just break up whatever's going on. They just yell at each other. Then we get this was in the lead up to the movie. Oh my God, they're going to drop the first F-bomb. And I said this on Jane Theory's scene when we talked about this. Peter Quill finds out Gamora's dead from Thanos in his face in Infinity War. Does not drop an F-bomb. Does not lose his composure there in that way. He loses it by punching him and all of that. We know Infinity War. I'm not gonna get too far into that. But he doesn't drop an F-bomb there. Doesn't drop an F-bomb in any of his emotional scenes. But he drops an F-bomb because Nebula doesn't know how to work a car door, something she's never seen before. But he's going to drop an F-bomb there. It just made no sense. It was gratuitous. Look, I swear all the time. I use rough language all the time. I try not to in these videos, in this kind of setting, because I don't need to. I don't need to swear for emphasis. I don't need to swear because it makes me sound edgy. It makes me sound cool. That's not how it works. That's not how any of this works. Okay? We are, I don't need to swear to impress anybody. I can drop F-bombs all day long, but it doesn't matter. Okay? F-bombs and F-bombs are a dime a dozen. It's not edgy. It's not interesting. I didn't really care, and I just thought it was out of place. It was out of place, and it was just it was crazy. So we get the Dr. Moreau planet. So we get to that. So now we're this far into the movie, and we get a split up of the group where Peter Quill comes up with the plan of Groot, Nebula, and I will go here. Drax, you stay here and protect them. Gamora, you do whatever you want to do because I don't care. And he goes off and he goes to find the High Evolutionary, and so we get all of that. When they find the High Evolutionary, Peter Quill's plan works. They go in, they find the guy. They break in, they get in a fight with the High Evolutionary. It was probably one of the best fights. It was probably one of the best fights in the movie. And they find the guy, and Peter Quill jumps out the window, and they get him. They download the stuff so that they can save Rocket. We get some flashbacks to Rocket and the High Evolutionary and why Rocket is so important to them, because Rocket has such an intelligent mind. And so we get all of that. So once the High Evolutionary realizes this Dr. Moreau world is not working as well, he decides to go full aliens on this and nuke the site from orbit. So they take off in a pyramid, and he just nukes the entire planet, and the planet starts blowing up. Gamora is like, what is going on? She gets on the plane. Adam Warlock shows up for some reason. And he's there. And he's there, and we'll get to Adam Warlock when we break down the rest of it. But yeah, he shows up. He tries fighting people, and and nothing really comes of it. So then Drax decides, you know what? I'm not staying here with this family. I'm going to help. And so he just goes. So him and Mantis just leave their post, and they just start going. They meet up with Nebula, who's outside the pyramid. She was not allowed in because she is considered a weapon based on all of her upgrades that Thanos has made to her. So she's considered a weapon, so they don't let her in the pyramid. They can't get in. The pyramid starts taking off, and Drax breaks in the door, and Nebula yells at him for about 5 minutes. That's just gut-wrenchingly horrible, and she makes Drax feel bad, and Mantis does a thing where she basically says, Drax, you're an idiot, you're stupid. And when Drax is like, you really think that of me? She yeets that out of his mind, so he doesn't remember it at all. And that's basically that scene. So now that the pyramid's taken off, and they find out there are kids on there. There are kids on there that I guess are part of the experiments or whatever is going on. Why there are kids there, I don't know. I don't know what's going on, but this is what's happening. Again, A.D.D, the movie, everything is going on at once. You get flashbacks to Rocket realizing that the High Evolutionary is going to dispose of him and his friends. So Rocket creates a key, gets out of the cage, and of course the High Evolutionary destroys all of his friends, and that happens. In between all of this, you get flashbacks to Nowhere, where Sean Gunn and Cosmo are there, and yes, I am telling you the whole movie, pretty much. Yes, I am. But this is what happens in the movie. The movie just goes from thing to thing to thing to thing. It never lets you watch the movie. As soon as you're processing one thing, another thing is happening. A joke happens. A fight happens. So we go through this whole thing, and the movie is 2.5 hours long, which at about the hour and a half mark, you're pretty much going, all right, let's wrap this up. We're done. We're done with this. What is going on? But the movie keeps going. It keeps going. It keeps going. And yes, I did an entire spoiler alert in the first 15 minutes of this video. I explained why the spoiler is important, why it's important to do spoilers. And again, I'll tell you what's going on. To see it is totally different than hearing me explain it, but I'm just explaining this. But there's a whole scene with Sean Gunn and Cosmo where they just keep saying good, or or he called her a bad dog, and they bring it up about 5 or 6 times. About the 6th time, even the people on the screen. There was a scene in the movie where Cosmo says, "You called me a bad dog," and the whole entire cast that's there says, "Just drop it already. This is stupid." And I'm like, "Thank you." I'm like, "Movie, you don't have to tell us it's stupid. I'm seeing that it's stupid. I thought it was stupid the first time. The 6th time, it was even dumber. You don't have to bring it. You don't have to point it out to me." So they do that, and they get that scene. So we get that. So then we see the High Evolutionary take out Rocket and trying to kill Rocket. He kills Rocket. It kills Rocket's friends, and Rocket just yeets out of there and gets away. So now we know why there's this big chase for Rocket, why the High Evolutionary wants him, why there's conflict between the two of them. And, of course, Peter Quill gets the codes to override the kill switch. So they go back, they find Rocket, they bring him back to life, and Rocket is back up, and he's doing his Rocket stuff with them. And they're saying, we have to go find the High Evolutionary now. We have to take him out before he does this to anyone else. So they go and they hunt down the High Evolutionary. This happens, and while this is happening, so when they try to save Rocket, Rocket is now in an area, and I have it written down here as King's Cross Station. If you know anything about my show, if you know anything about me personally, you know I'm a Harry Potter fanatic. The minute I saw this scene where Rocket is talking to his dead friend, I immediately, and it's all white in the background, immediately went to Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. I was like, they just basically copied that scene and put it there. I was almost expecting him to say, "Oh, I mean," when Rocket is asking what he should do at the end, I almost expected them to just say, "Well, we're at King's Cross Station. I guess you could take a train onward." It was that cringe, as far as I was like, this is the exact same scene from Deathly Hallows. That's what it is. That's all that happens. All it is to tell you that Rocket, the story was never about the Guardians. It was never about Peter Quill, and the movie, the Guardians series, it has always been about Rocket. Rocket's always been a leader. So it's always been Rocket's story, apparently. Go figure. So Rocket gets up there. He has a chance to kill the High Evolutionary, and he says, "Guardians don't kill people." What about like the 900 other people that they've killed in this movie? Like, this is a trope that really gets me. Heroes, we're not going to kill the big villain, but if you're the small villain, if you're just the henchman, you're okay to kill. But the big villain, no, don't kill him. Don't kill him. That's a bad thing. Like, wait, what? No, that's not what happens. That's not how this works. Like, it should be, we're going to kill the big bad, and we'll let the henchmen leave because the henchmen are just followers. It's the completely other way around. It makes no sense. So, but we'll get into that in the breakdown. So that's it. They saved Rocket. Then there's a scene, and like I said, remember I told you, way back when, about 15, 20 minutes ago, I told you about the scene with Rocket and the gravity boots. Well, Peter Quill, for some reason, when they're trying to save all the kids and the animals and all of this stuff and all of this, the Guardians are trying to save everybody. There's a part where Peter Quill gets stuck in in outer space. Gravity boots would have helped Peter Quill at that point. Why you introduced them at one point and did not have them at the crucial moment makes no sense. But but again, I didn't write the movie, James Gunn did, and it makes no sense. But there you go. So but Peter Quill is able to do something. He's able to get out of his stasis, which, again, watching the other Guardians movies, Peter Quill is a Celestial. Why is this happening to Peter Quill? I know he's part human, so maybe the human side of him would be, but he's a celestial being. His father was a planet. I don't understand why this was affecting Peter Quill so much. But Peter Quill comes back and everybody has a happy ending. Yay. So this is what happened. So now we get, everybody's okay. They get back to nowhere, and everybody just decides to go their separate way for no reason. Drax gets to be the father he never got to be, because he now gets to be the father of everybody, of all the kids that are there, because he's so good with kids, and Nebula sucks at it. Nebula just appoints herself the president, mayor, whatever you want, of nowhere. She just says, I'll run the country, I'll run this planet for reasons. I still have no idea why they put her in charge or who put her in charge. She just kind of says, I'm in charge. Mantis decides, I'm out of here, fuck off, I don't care about any of you, I'm going to go figure out myself. So she goes and leaves. Peter Quill decides, I'm going to go see my grandfather, who I've never had any kind of reaction. Last time I saw him, I was 10 years old. Okay, like, all right, so he's gone. Drax doing whatever Drax does. Rocket is now the leader of the Guardians, which don't exist anymore, which for some reason they have taken on Adam Warlock for reasons, even though he tried to kill him in the beginning of the movie. The only time he really tried to do anything is like he was, fighting with them because he wanted to kill the High Evolutionary after the High Evolutionary killed his mother. So it's kind of like the enemy of my enemy is my friend, but now he's part of the Guardians, which makes no sense. Groot is there, and that's basically how the movie ends. And then you get some end credit scenes which make no sense, which we'll talk about in a minute. All right, so that's the movie. If my plot analysis didn't show you what was going on, this movie, again, the title of this says it all. A.D.D, the movie. It is attention deficit disorder. It is all over the place. It is one scene after another, after another, after another. Bad joke, good joke, bad joke, music, fighting, jokes, dramatic scene. Back to present, past, this, that, the other thing. Everything is thrown at you in this movie, and it is just, it's like throwing paint at the wall. If you threw paintballs at a wall and it was just, it's just splatters all over the place. Sometimes they mix with each other. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes they cover each other up. It is all over the place. That is the problem with this movie, is that if this were 2 or 3 movies, it would be a lot better than it was. I mean, if you took just the Rocket portions of this movie and made this about Rocket's story, it would have been I would say it would be a very good movie, because the scenes with Rocket are awesome. The scenes of Rocket's backstory are awesome. They're great. It's great to see a background character, to get the story of Rocket. It is world building. It's great for us. The problem is it's mixed in with the 9 other stories that are going on, and it's just you follow it for 2 or 3 minutes, then you get 10 minutes of something else, then it goes back to Rocket's story for another 2, 4, or 5 minutes stretch. Then it goes back. All the emotional parts of this movie are in Rocket's story. So that's where I lose interest in this movie, is that it's 3 different movies in one. And I understand, like, James Gunn's on his way out. He's going to DC. And yes, I agree. I agree, David, as well. I agree absolutely. You could say that about a lot of the new Marvels, and that's what I was talking about at the beginning. This is the new way of presenting movies to us, and the reason why I did the review this way, and the reason why I've been trying to come up with this is just go watch Guardians of the Galaxy 1. Guardians of the Galaxy 1 is way, way better than this film. And it's because it all flowed together. You had different stories, but they all flowed together. You had Peter Quill, and you had Peter Quill and him meeting up with Gamora, them being in the jail situation. You had Ronan versus Thanos going at it. All of this was happening. All of these things, all these elements were there. You had the city that was there that had I forget the guy's name of it. It's I forget the commander guy's name of it, but you had the leader, the protector of that town, of that city or that planet or whatever that Ronan was trying to get out. But you had all of these elements going on, and they all flowed together, and it worked. It worked. Guardians of the Galaxy 1 worked. This didn't. This did not work. It was way too frantic, way too much, way too over the top. Now, there are parts of this movie that if you just yeeted them out of the movie, if you took them out of the movie becomes so much better. Hence, MacGuffin chase number 1, which made absolutely no sense. Why they put that in the movie, I have no idea. I can't figure that part. I can't figure that out. I'm not a movie creator. But that whole scene, you had a 30-minute span that was basically useless. You went to one place to go to another place to learn you have to go to another place. Why they put that in there, I cannot figure it out to this day. My thought process was, they put this part in because this is where Drax gets shot and we have an emotional end to Drax. No, Drax gets shot and apparently he's fine. Apparently he's okay. It's not a problem. Don't worry about it. So I thought maybe that would have helped. It would have helped if something important happened during that scene. Nothing important happened. You could yeet that whole 30 minutes out of the movie and everybody would be fine. Everybody would be okay. We didn't learn anything. We didn't get anything new. It wasn't funny. It wasn't important. Nothing happened in that stretch. So again, take that out. You might be able to live on. The other reason I would take that part out of the movie is because what they did, this will get to one of my big criticisms of this movie, is you opened with, I talked about how Rocket is awesome. Peter Quill is awesome. Peter Quill is always awesome. Chris Pratt is always going to be good. I mean, Chris Pratt is proving himself to be a blockbuster star. He carried this movie. Mario. We've seen him in Tomorrow War. You've seen him in the show on Amazon that he's doing a great job with. You're seeing he's able to do dramatic. He's able to do funny. He's able to do cartoon voiceover, cartoon movies. Like, the guy can do basically anything. So Chris Pratt is awesome. He'll always be awesome. And he was great. But you set us up in the beginning of the movie with Peter Quill being distraught over Gamora. You set that up as his character arc in this, so that when he meets Gamora again, I get it. They want to say this is a different Gamora. Well, Peter Quill, why was there no reaching? Why was there no trying to reach the side of Gamora that he reached the last time? Of trying to get through to that Gamora, trying to bring that Gamora out of her. The one time we got an emotional moment between the two of them, it gets broken up by just stupid jokes that they played off his emotional outreach to her as a joke. And that should not have happened. Should not have been that way. That should have been one of the underlying themes of this movie, is about how people come together. How even though this is a different Gamora, how that story reaches together. Look, if you've watched this program before, if you're new to the program, I am a fairy tale. I love fairy tales. Okay. One of my favorite television shows of all time is Once Upon a Time. And the whole underlying theme of Once Upon a Time was that Prince Charming and Snow White, no matter where they are, no matter what happens to them, true love finds each other and they bring it out of each other. And the whole point of Once Upon a Time is they don't remember who they are. They don't know they're in the real world, but they don't know their fantasy characters. They don't know who they are. And yet they find each other. Prince Charming and Snow White find each other. And because their love finds each other, it molds their characters together. And that's basically forms the rest of the show. That's what this is about. That's what a lot of this is. And we have somebody in there. It says device is not connected. We have let's see what we got here. I think we have somebody joining us. And welcome to the program, Mr. Creed. What's going on, man? We got you on this. We got you on the stream. You're welcome to join us whenever you want to. We're talking Guardians of the Galaxy 3. If you've seen the movie, we'll get your thoughts on it and all of that. So you're welcome to join us whenever. But let me just finish up my Once Upon a Time. So I thought that would be the story of this movie, would be Peter Quill trying to break through this Gamora, which we'll talk about Gamora. We'll talk about Gamora later. There's plenty more to talk about. But I thought that would be one of the themes of this movie is, that these two would find each other and these two would bring the best out of each other and they would reconnect. Nope. It was played for laughs and left on the cutting room floor. Go get out of here. We don't need it. We don't need that. We don't need that kind of emotion. Not in 2023. Not in 2023. That's not how this. We can't have men and women being attracted to each other. That's just insane. Let's get that out of our movies. We don't want that. Nobody wants that anymore. So I don't know. I thought that was, if they had stretched that storyline out, I thought that would have made the movie, that would have given some point to this movie. But there wasn't. Again, they used it for laughs, and that's it. All right. So the good of this movie was Rocket and Peter Quill. Now let's get the bad of this movie is everything else. Every other character is absolutely horrible. Drax was Drax. I mean, not good. Drax is not in the bad category. Drax is Drax. He was the same he always is. That's why I said Dave Bautista at the beginning, because he's basically just playing Dave Bautista now. He really doesn't play the character or anything. Really, nothing happens to him. Yeah, there's that. So we'll remove Drax from the bad parts. Mantis is awful in this Mantis is awful. Her entire character arc is all over the place. 1 minute she says this, the next minute she does that. She does the complete opposite. In the beginning of the movie, they say, can't you just make him forget Gamora? And she says, I would never mess with the minds of my friends. However, an hour later in the movie, she just removes a memory from Drax's brain for no reason. I thought you didn't mess with the memory of your friends. So which is it? You cannot give me both sides. It has to be one or the other. Either you do and you just haven't done it because you don't want to, or you can do this at any point, or you can't do it, or you can't do it because he's your friend, and you have to tell me which one it is. You can't have both. Can't be both. But again, that happens. But Mantis is insufferable in this movie. She's just, ugh. All right. Nebula is pretty much Nebula as she always is. She looks right. She looks fine. As opposed to the trailers where they showed her, or not the trailers, but the movie posters that showed her kind of ambiguous. I thought maybe they would go that route. Nah, she looks fine, looks okay. However, her character, Nebula was somebody I was growing to like Nebula based off of Infinity War, Endgame, that kind of Nebula. I was growing to like her character and like her character arc and like the fact that where she was headed. However, in this movie, all she does is just yell at people. She yells at everybody. It's almost like that's her role in the movie, is just to be an insufferable, no other word to say it. She's just an insufferable bitch the entire movie, yelling and screaming, yelling at Drax, get your shoes off the door, do this, yelling at her, yelling at Peter, I can't get in the door, get in the fucking door. Like, she just yells, and then she yells at Drax at the end, calls him stupid, and then it was just her yelling the entire movie, and I couldn't take it anymore. After about the fifth or sixth scene where she's yelling at a character, I was pretty much saying, oh my God, can you just stop? Just stop yelling at everybody. So they have that. I will say this. Let me finish with the characters, then I'll get to my other thing. But that's Nebula. Now let's get to the two worst characters. And the first worst character of this is Adam Warlock. Adam Warlock, they introduced him and he was powerful, and that was the Adam Warlock. I was like, this is awesome. I was like, all right, he's taking on people. However, he's a man. He's a male character, so he can't be overpowering. He can't be overpowering. So we have to make him, and I know I'm going to get hit for using this word, but it's the only word to describe him. And when I say this, I don't mean mentally challenged people. He's retarded. He is retarded. Okay? He just does the dumbest things and says the dumbest things possible. And now when I use that term, I mean it for people who have the ability to think and just choose not to. And Adam Warlock is supposed to be one of the best characters in all of the universe. He's supposed to be the one that fields the Infinity Gauntlet. He was supposed to be used in the Infinity Saga. And they just chose not to. And now they were like, well, we have to use him. Let's do it. Oh, we can't make him overpowering. So let's just make him terrible. Let's just make him a dumbass. Let's make him do the dumbest things possible. Oh, he was taken out of the cryo tube too early, so his brain didn't develop. Well, guess what? It makes him a dumb character. It makes his character completely stupid, and it ruins everything you have about him. And the thing about why this is so important is Adam Warlock is such a great character that the MCU could be using at multiple levels right now. But instead, they made him this dumb joke of a character where now it's like, all right, what are we going to do with him? So that's why Adam Warlock is so dumb. His scenes are, except for the beginning scene in Nowhere, the rest of his scenes are just cringe and awful. And they're not Adam Warlock. They're not the Adam Warlock character that the MCU needs. They need that character. And look, as somebody who is a comic book fan, as somebody who is a fan of the MCU and wants the MCU to succeed, I don't want them to perish the way that they are. I want to help them. Adam Warlock could have been one of those characters that helps you because you can use him as, you can use him to go into the Soul Stone, which we'll talk about in a minute. You can use him to go back in time. He has a plot line with Kang where he meets Pharaoh Kang. So Adam Warlock is kind of an important thing. If you want to do Kang as your big villain, Adam Warlock kind of plays a big part of that. You can run the Magus line of Adam Warlock, which Magus is an awesome villain. Awesome villain. It is the villainous side of Adam Warlock. You could pull that out for a couple movies. Pull the Magus side out. Because he is an awesome. If you go look it up, just look up some of the Magus artistic depictions. It's some of the most menacing stuff that I've seen drawn. That's why I loved it. That's why I loved that character. That's what I thought. All right, that's what I thought we were gonna get. But no, we get this part of we get this scene. We get this version of Adam Warlock. We get Adam Warlock the retard. So it didn't make any sense. So you ruined that character. Now, and it would have been the worst character in the entire thing. However, Gamora exists, and I need to express my thoughts on Gamora. All right. Gamora. The original Gamora was awesome. Zoe Saldana had a great character. She was building a great thing there. She had compassion. She had the warrior type. But she also had the knowledge to fit into the world that she was in. When she's in jail, she's not just trying to kick people's asses. She's trying to work with Peter Quill to get herself out of it. And that's how they become. That was the whole buildup. In the first one, she's awesome. I would say Zoe Saldana steals the show in Guardians of the Galaxy 1. Not so much Guardians of the Galaxy 2, she kind of fades to the background. And then this one, she is just an absolute disaster of a character because she's awful. But let's talk about this for a minute. So, first off, I thought Tony Stark snapped out Thanos' entire army. Isn't Gamora part of Thanos' army? Wouldn't she have been involved in the Iron Man snap? Why is she still here? So how did she survive the snap? How did she survive Tony's snap? That's what I want to know. Number 2, if she's a variant of Gamora, using the MCU logic of Loki's a variant, Loki, the whole point of the Loki television show is that variants break the timeline and the TVA comes and yeets variants out of existence to not break the current the prime timeline. So why is the TVA allowing Gamora to exist? Is it just Loki? Is it just men that they yeet out of timelines? What is the protocol here? Why is this version of Gamora allowed to live when she should not? She should not be alive. She should be at the bottom of the pit where the Vormir, where the Soul Stone is. Vormir. She should be that should be where Gamora is. So why is this one allowed to live and Loki had to be pruned, but Gamora is allowed to exist? So her existence makes no sense. But even worse, if you're going to make a character exist that shouldn't exist, everyone should love that character. And Zoe's, I don't know if this was Zoe's performance. I don't know if this was the way the character is supposed to be. It's just awful. She is awful from her very first scene to her very last scene. She is just insufferable and awful. And she has no chemistry with anybody on screen. She's antagonistic to basically every single thing that's going on. She doesn't grow as a character. She basically destroys the entire, she's the reason that the bad guys found them on their way to the Dr. Moreau planet. So that happened. But Gamora's character was terrible. Now, these two characters that I told you about, Adam Warlock and Gamora, from what I remember, Adam Warlock goes into the Soul Stone and brings Gamora out of it. That's how it worked in the comics. Is that Adam Warlock used his powers to bring her back. You had that chance. You had Adam Warlock and Gamora on the spaceship together. Why there couldn't be a moment that put them that Adam Warlock saw her. I'll get into that. I'll get into this in a minute, but why you couldn't have written it so that there was a scene where Gamora finds a picture of Peter Quill and his mom and his grandfather. And why there couldn't be a picture of Gamora there and have her look at the picture of Gamora and Peter Quill and have her looking at it. And then Adam Warlock's on the ship and he looks at it and he says, I can give you that life. If Adam Warlock were a competent character and not a retard, you could have believed that Adam Warlock would say, I sense your feelings or something, that you want to be this person. I can bring you that. And, he uses the Soul Stone that is supposed to be his thing of being to bring that Gamora into this Gamora. And now you have a reason for now you bring Peter Quill and Gamora together. It makes, I don't know, that makes more sense to me in the story of you have a love story now. You have something that you can go back to, that you can go back on. So I don't know. I'm just saying, I'm just spitballing here ideas of how you could have worked that in. I mean, that could be its own movie. Adam Warlock, Gamora going through the Soul Stone and trying to bring Gamora back. That's its own movie plot that you could do. You could have done it quick and easy, like I just said, in a quick and easy scene if you wanted to waste it in this movie, but they didn't. But they didn't set anything up. It's basically that's what happens. So yeah, Gamora sucks. Gamora sucks as a character. And she was such a good character in Guardians 1. Such a good character. To have her ruined like this is awful. So yeah. Again, I mentioned it in my review segment, the Harry Potter scene with the King's Cross Station. It just, as a Harry Potter fan, I was like, this has been done. It's been done better. I don't need this. And one of the worst parts to me is in this scene where they say, this has always been your story. It's always been Rocket's story. Really? Really? You're trying to pull this move? So you're telling me Guardians of the Galaxy 1 was about Rocket when it was about Peter Quill being able to grab an Infinity Stone? You're telling me Guardians of the Galaxy 2 was Rocket's story when he was in it for about 10 minutes and he was separated with Yondu for basically most of the movie. And the whole movie was about Peter Quill and his father being Ego and Peter Quill being a Celestial. But no, that story was about Rocket. Do you see how this makes no sense? Do you see how this comment makes absolutely no sense in universe? I get it. You want people to believe that. In order to do that, you would have had to make it. You think this story, this movie was about Rocket, where basically every time we see Rocket, it's basically in the past? A fix to this movie would have been the High Evolutionary hunting for Rocket and Rocket being the one that is trying to hunt down the High Evolutionary. And having Rocket, instead of Rocket being dead on a table for most of the movie, Rocket is involved in everything that's going on. That would have made the flashback scenes, it would have made the story about Rocket. This wasn't about, this was Rocket's story just thrown into whatever else was going on. So that to me, that to me would have been a fix to this movie. To make this movie fit would have been to have Rocket involved in it for more of the movie rather than just being dead on a table. There's that. Let's see. Another gripe to the movie. Before we get to my biggest gripe with this movie, as I know we're going pretty long with this. But I'll give you I got a couple more gripes and then we'll wrap things up and then we'll go from there. But here's all right. So here's gripe. Here, I don't know what we're on. I don't know what number we're on, but here's the next one. So my next gripe with the movie is hold on. No, I'm going to jump. I'm actually going to jump. I'm going to save that one. I'm going to go with no. Oh, yeah. My next gripe is, what are the stakes anymore? Where are the stakes in what's happening? Rocket gets shot, and Rocket gets hit with an energy blast. Oh, he can live for 48 hours. Okay, but if you put a med pack on him, it'll save his life instantly. Gamora gets her arm ripped off. Just put a med pack on it. It's fine. Drax gets hit with an energy blast. Just put a med pack on it. It'll be fine. What are these med packs and how are they just saving people's? How are they bringing people back from certain death? Who made them? How do they exist? Why? If anybody else gets shot, can you just put them on anything and it'll instantly heal anything? Does that mean there's no what? What are the stakes anymore? And I thought, and this was kind of the reason why this is a big gripe to me, is the expectations that I had of this. I thought this was going to course correct the MCU to be a movie that kind of, got us back on track to, yes, there are stakes. Characters can die. Characters can be put in bad situations, and characters have to work themselves out of these kinds of situations. No, we got none of that. Drax gets shot. Next scene, he's fine. Rocket gets shot. He'll be fine later on. Nebula gets her head cut off in one scene, and it's fine. There are what are the stakes anymore? What are the stakes in the MCU anymore? The stakes we saw in Endgame. There were clear stakes. Infinity War, there was tragic. It ended tragically for people. Vision was taken away from Wanda. Talking, WandaVision. No, there were stakes. There used to be stakes in this universe. People used to be able to die. Now it's like anybody can survive anything and it doesn't matter. That is a big problem. That is a big problem with current movie. Current movies won't allow characters to die. Oh, certain people like this character. Oh, a group of people like this character, so we can't kill them off. Why? Why not? Why can't you kill them off? Why can't a character die? Oh, because we might have to bring them back in a future movie. If you're thinking about the future and not the current thing you're in, you're wasting your time. Especially now with Marvel, with where Marvel is at and the fact that they are in decline, they need to focus on what they're doing now because the future ain't coming. The future is getting blown up every time they put a product out. And just imagine what is coming down the pike. The Marvels, Echo. Is there going to be anybody left after all of this? So while you're focusing on the future, in this movie, the legendary Star-Lord will return. Why? What purpose is there for Star-Lord to return? Star-Lord's story is wrapped up. He never really got over Gamora, but he moved on to the fact that he said, that he realized he didn't need Gamora. He needs his family. So he went back to live with his grandfather. In the end credit scene, he's happy eating cereal and doing yard work and complaining about neighbors, like living the typical normal American life. That was Peter Quill. Peter Quill's life, Peter Quill's story seems like it's wrapped up. So to end the movie with the legendary Star-Lord will return, why? What gave me any reason to want to see another Peter Quill adventure? His story seems wrapped up. But you have to reinstitute that there are stakes in this world. That no matter what happens, that you can't just go back and fix things. Go back in time and fix things. This is why time travel in Endgame was a bad idea. It's a bad idea to bring this in. It's why multiverses are a bad idea. Because there's nothing anymore. There's no stakes to this movie. There's no stakes to this universe anymore. Anything can happen, and we just basically have to go, okay, well, that happened. And to be honest, that's not good for your storytelling. That doesn't make me intrigued by what you're doing. All right, let's go to another gripe I had with this movie is everybody has said, oh, the music's good. Which it is. The music is good. It's fine. It's mostly early 90s kind of music. So I get the arc that they were going for. Like the Guardians of the Galaxy 1 was the 70s. Guardians of the Galaxy 2 was the 80s. This one was the 90s. However, in both Guardians 1 and Guardians 2, the music matched what was going on. I'll give you one scene that explains exactly the chaos that is this movie and the musical picture. So when they go to fight the High Evolutionary on the last time, they have to fight through all the guards, and they have to fight through all these things that he's created. Well, while this is happening, for some reason, they decided to play the Beastie Boys, which, don't get me wrong, I love the Beastie Boys. I love the song that they picked, No Sleep Till Brooklyn. All right. Why? What purpose did that have? If people said this, I've seen people's reviews of this where they said, look, James Gunn is just so great at picking popular music. No. He picked a song that has nothing to do with the scene that's happening, other than it's a good song. You could have picked Fight for Your Right to Party. That would have made sense because there's a fight going on. That would have made sense. You could have picked, I would have picked Sabotage. If I was going to pick a Beastie Boys track, I would have picked Sabotage because that song is about a fight. That's what it's about. It's about, and that was what they were trying to do. They were trying to sabotage the High Evolutionary. Well, why wouldn't you pick that? It writes itself. It's a Guardians movie, so it's happening in space. If you wanted to pick it's been overused, and they used it in the Marvels trailer, but Intergalactic would have worked there. There are plenty of Beastie Boys songs that would have fit there. The song that doesn't fit there is No Sleep Till Brooklyn, and they used it for no reason. No reason other than it's a good song. This is the same thing they did in Thor: Love and Thunder, where they used Guns N' Roses for no plot reason other than Taika Waititi likes Guns N' Roses, so they put Guns N' Roses in the movie. That's what this was. That's what using this track was. Using the Beastie Boys here was James Gunn likes the Beastie Boys, so we're going to put them in the movie. And the scene is awesome. It is one of the best fight scenes probably that Marvel has. It's one of the best fight scenes we've seen. It's definitely the best fight scene we've seen since, I would say since Far From Home. But we've seen this. It was a great fight scene. It was really cool, except for the fact that Nebula got her head cut off and nothing happened to her. I still don't understand that. I still don't understand how her head got cut off, but it just snapped back into place and she's fine. Makes no sense. This is what happens when you take the last trope that I had of no stakes. It makes a fight scene. All right, the fight was cool, but there's no threat to anybody here. Anybody can do whatever they want. People can take shots and people can get shot and just walk away from it. So even though the fight scene is awesome, makes no sense. The rest of the music in it doesn't match what's going on, what's on the screen. And that's a problem. That is a big problem when you have movies like Guardians 1 where the music was so integral to the story. And in this, it was kind of just, here's the music, here's the movie, and that they don't have anything. One is going one direction, one's doing the other thing. So that's a big problem. Now for the biggest problem of this movie. The biggest problem of this movie, which is what I've seen people say as the biggest. This is why I laughed at people's assessments of this movie. This is why, and look, nobody, he can come at me and he can crush me all he wants. Look, and I'm not saying this to hate on him. I still watch The Drinker all the time. I love The Drinker. I just watched Open Bar before this. I still watch The Drinker. I still think The Drinker is awesome at explaining movies. I still think The Drinker is, is one of the best things to watch here on YouTube. But where I have to disagree and get in an argument here with the critical drinker where his thing about this was the High Evolutionary was a great villain. I disagree. I disagree wholeheartedly. The High Evolutionary was a great character, but he was not. What was villainous about him in this movie? Other than he tortured animals, which we already knew that. We already knew that. We knew that going in. But that doesn't make him a villain. He yelled at people. He just yelled for no reason at people. Yelled like an asshole. Yelling like an asshole doesn't make you a villain. It just makes you a dick. To be honest with you. Well, let me rephrase that. Yelling at people just makes you an asshole. To stick with the Team America World Police. Yeah, we're not dicks. We're not assholes. We're dicks. Yeah, yelling at people for no reason just makes you an asshole. So he was just an asshole. His plan makes absolutely no sense. His plan was to create the great society by taking the best of people and by taking the best creatures and putting their traits together. Okay. Let me just run that by you again. His plan is to make the perfect beings. The perfect beings. By taking parts of animals and machines and everything, putting them together and fusing them together. And finding out which parts work with which parts would work. So let me ask you this question. How does a walrus with wheels, how does that make the perfect creature? How does an otter with robotic arms make the perfect creature? How does a raccoon, Rocket is the closest thing that he gets because Rocket's intelligence and Rocket's intelligence, his ingenuity, all of that is as close as you can get, but it's in the body of a raccoon. So how is that the perfect being? Like none of his plan makes any sense. And we never see him succeed in anything. We never see him succeed. This is the problem with villains today. We're told, oh, these people are villainous or these people are great villains. Why are they great villains? Why is the Joker a great villain? Because his plans succeed. Go to any iteration of the Joker. Any iteration of the Joker. Whether it's Heath Ledger's Dark Knight or whether it's Jack Nicholson's The Joker. Jack Nicholson in Batman 89. He successfully puts out the cosmetic line that kills the news anchor live on television, is killing people in Gotham, is causing chaos. His plan worked. Now, his overall plan got foiled by Batman, but he was still gassing people in the middle of the city. That's a villainous plan. It was working if Batman didn't break it up. In The Dark Knight, his plan worked. And we could argue about this. Anybody could come and argue with me about this. His overall plan was not recognized until Dark Knight Rises. All right. The Joker's plan, if you really break down, no one loves Dark Knight more than me, so I've broken it down on multiple occasions. Well, the Joker's final line in the movie, when Batman says, your plan failed, he says, oh no. He says, quote, Batman says, quote, this city just showed you that it's got more character. And he says, and the Joker says, quote, until they break completely when they see Harvey Dent and all the things that he's done. And what happens in Dark Knight Rises? When they learn of Harvey Dent, when they learn of Harvey Dent's betrayal and how and all of that, that's what leads to the chaos in Dark Knight Rises. So the Joker was right. The Joker was right. Once people learn Harvey Dent was really a psychopath, once they learn that, they'll break completely, and they did. Society broke down. So the Joker got his plans right. What plan of the High Evolutionaries worked? People said, oh, he's villainous because he blew up a whole planet. He blew up a planet he created. He blew up a planet of Dr. Moreau people, which I said in my review, Dr. Moreau, the worst movie of all time. Why you thought that would be a good idea to put in your movie, I have no idea. But it was awful. It was horrible. I didn't care that this was him admitting his plan failed. He admitted failure and blew it up. That's not a villainous act. That's not like the High Evolutionary. Is he out conquering things? No, he's not out doing. He's out creating his own stuff. Oh, he created this planet and blew it up. That's what he did. He created it and he blew it up. So if I create something and blow it up, am I a villain? No, I'm not a villain if I create something and blow it up. If I'm out taking other people's creations and blowing up other people's creations, Ronan the Accuser conquering other worlds, trying to destroy other worlds, that's a villain. That's what villains do. That's a villain. That's a villain. Thanos destroying half the universe. That's a villain. This guy is not a villain. He's not villainous. He didn't inspire any villainy to me. Now, I've seen people say, "Oh, it was acted superbly by whoever the actor was." I don't know. I don't care. I don't care about any of that. Did he do a good job? Sure. Did he come off at? I thought the actor that played him did well in the regular part. I thought when he was just yelling at people, I thought that was awful. And that's not on the actor. That's on the script and the lines and the situations that he was put in were not conducive to what he was. I thought when he was in the scenes he was with Rocket, it was good. When he did the heel turn to killing Rocket's friends, I thought that was okay. I thought he was good in that role, but that's it. That's it. I didn't think he was a good villain at all. I've seen people say, I would rather see this guy than Kang. Why? I'm not saying Kang is a great villain. Kang is not great at all. Kang suffers from the same thing that I just said. Kang has not done anything. Kang has been defeated 3 times he's been shown twice and been defeated 4 times. That's not a good ratio. 0 and 4 is not a good ratio. Okay? To be a good villain, you have to succeed at some point. You have to make me think that you can succeed. If I've seen you foiled this many times, if I've seen you fail that many times, at what point am I going to think, well, this guy can succeed? This guy can succeed in his plan, or this guy has a plan that if successful would be devastating. Would the High Evolutionary's plan devastate the world? No, wouldn't. Would the High Evolutionary's plan? Is the High Evolutionary's plan even feasible? No, it's not. So none of this makes him a good villain. He is not a good villain, and as I've said multiple times on this show, on Trinity Gauntlet, on any show I've ever been on, I have just tried to describe to people heroes make a good story. Villains make a story great. When you have stakes, when you have opportunity, when there are stakes and the villain has a chance to pull those stakes off, you want to see him thwarted by the heroes. That's what makes the story. That's what makes a story great. That's what makes a story a timeless tale. Heroes are made by villains. Heroes are made iconic by the villains they conquer. In Marvel, the X-Men are great because they conquer Mr. Sinister. They conquer Magneto. They're all great villains. I mean, the one comparison I have of this villain is X-Men, the comic. X-Men in the not the comic, the cartoon. X-Men 94, the cartoon. Mr. Sinister is doing this exact plan that the High Evolutionary is doing. Trying to create the perfect mutant. So he kidnaps Jean Grey and Cyclops, and he is damn near close to doing it until he is foiled by Wolverine and the rest of the X-Men. And Mr. Sinister was twice, a cartoon depiction was twice the villain that the High Evolutionary is. He was twice as menacing. He looked more menacing. He acted more menacingly in a cartoon than this real life villain. And that's the problem. That's the biggest problem with this movie. So, as you can see, there are problems all over the place with this movie. And I'll bring this. So my overall thoughts on this movie. Rocket, Peter Quill, good because they're always good. They're always good characters. Rocket really came into his own in Infinity War and Endgame and made us want his backstory. His backstory would have been a really good movie. However, you had Rocket dead, basically out of this movie for 90% of the movie. He's only in it for about 10% as the real Rocket. And that's a problem. That was a problem. Peter Quill was good. They finished up his storyline. Why? Why would I want to see him return? Peter Quill is happy with his life. The only thing I can think of to bring Peter Quill back is the search for Gamora. And I mean, not to get all, is this going to be Star Trek 3? The search for Spock? Is this going to be the search for Gamora? Like, is that what we're going to get Star-Lord back? But at this point, you've destroyed Gamora's character. You've destroyed Gamora by having her play this insufferable character that, do I even want her back? Do I even care at this point? And the answer to that is no, I don't. So to bring that up again, sounds like such a terrible movie. Latina and Callie, I would agree with you. This movie's terrible. This movie is terrible. If you were to ask me about this movie, if you were to ask, look, again, I said this in the beginning. I said this in the first 15 minutes in the introduction of what a review is. A review is, here's the scenes, here's the movie, here's what happens. Here's why, what's important. This movie, and I do agree with the drinker on one thing. The one thing this movie has going for it is it's not connected to the rest. It's not connected to anything. You could skip this movie in the MCU timeline and nothing changes. That is a problem. That is something that could have been fixed by Adam Warlock. Just Adam Warlock is your connection to the rest of the MCU. It's your connection to Kang. It's your connection to the Soul Stone. It's your connection to Gamora. It's your connection to keeping this story going forward. When you make him retarded, as they did, do I even care? No. I don't care about anything that this movie anything that this movie has going forward, anything that comes off of this, do I care about it? No, I don't. Based off of this movie, I could care less. And that's a problem. But again, a review is not about should you go see this movie. If you were not excited about Guardians before you watch this review, then you shouldn't go see it anyway. You shouldn't go see it because you weren't going to go see it anyway. If you were excited about Guardians and you were waiting for a review and you'd happen to catch mine, go watch it. Watch the movie. If you're excited about it, watch the movie. If you watched the movie and you loved it and you see my review and I'm sure MCU fans will get in here and they'll get on this, and I'm sure they'll comment on stuff. And I've seen people ripped apart for not liking the movie. Look, if you love this movie, if there are things you love about this movie, awesome. What we say on this program is true. We believe in it and we respect it. What we say is, tell me why you're wrong. I gave you all the problems I have with this movie. I've told you, if you have a different opinion than me, you think I'm wrong, I told you why I think that way. If you love this movie, tell me why you're wrong. It's okay. It's okay to be wrong. It's okay for you to like something. If you liked it, like it. Like it, defend it, do whatever you got to do. It's no burden on me. I just want to know why. I want to know why people liked this movie. I did not. I literally at one point when they made the bad dog joke for about the 7th time, I literally in the movie went, Jesus effing Christ. Why? Why? Well, just let this die. And that again, when I walked out of this movie, I went, yep, that was a movie. That was a movie. So that's not the feeling I want to get out of a movie. That's not the feeling I want out of a movie. Now I watch a lot of movies. I will go to a movie. I can find enjoyment. This movie, the worst thing about this movie is it's not terrible to the point of, oh my God, it's so terrible that you have to see it. This movie is terrible because after you see it, there's no feeling at all. There was no feeling for me. There wasn't, oh man, I really got to talk about this. I really got to go see this. I really got to go. I want to come back and see it again. I can't wait till it comes out on Disney Plus. I'm going to watch it again. No. I watched this movie once. I'll probably never watch it again because I don't care. I might watch it for the rocket scenes. That's about it. That's about it. Other than that, this movie is awful, and it had the chance. There were chances there. There were things they could have done to make this a better movie. One, shorten the movie. Why it's 2.5 hours, I have no idea. But it shouldn't be. This movie should be about an hour and a half of just gung ho. Of Rocket, Peter Quill and Gamora, and there should be payoffs to Rocket's story and Peter Quill's story. If we got those payoffs, I would sing the praises of this movie. None of that happened. No, we didn't get any of that, any of why this is important, why this is here. Trying to make this Rocket's the Guardians is Rocket's story. No, it's not. It's Peter Quill's story, and it always will be. And that's where this movie went wrong. It's Peter Quill's story. And that's it. All right. So guys, that's my Guardians review. We have that we have this now out of the way. So setting the scene, we'll be back next week. During the week, we'll be breaking down the latest in Hollywood, the latest things that are happening. Obviously, Little Mermaid is coming out, and it's going to get absolutely trashed. I've said this from the start. I've said this from the attempt to remake it, the attempt to remake The Little Mermaid. We talked about it on the last Setting the Scene. If you didn't see that, go watch. The representation problems here, the changing of the story, all of it that's gone on. The Little Mermaid is going to get absolutely murdered. I'm not going to go. I'm not going to pay to see that. I'll wait till I'll wait a month when it comes out on Disney Plus, because this movie's not going to last. It's going to get laughed out of the building. Indiana Jones is coming out in July, and already it's just getting destroyed. So Lucasfilm, goodbye to that. Goodbye to Willow. Willow, it was nice to know you, as it gets deleted from Disney Plus. The only good thing I can say about Willow is that if you want, if you're intrigued or you're scared, oh no, Willow's gone. Disperuse breakdowns of Willow still exist, and they will always exist, and they are great. I rewatched them over the weekend, and they're awesome. So there are things that can be done. So setting the scene, we'll get you ready for the Marvels. I know everybody is already shitting on the Marvels, already saying, oh, it's going to be terrible. I don't care about box office numbers. I don't care about that. All I want is good movies, good stories that don't preach to me don't tell me what I need to think. Show me what you mean, and I can get behind it. But don't tell me what to think. Don't show me garbage and tell me I have to believe that it's the greatest thing I've ever seen, because it's not going to happen. So we got that going on. Note to everybody that watches this, it is summer. So summer, which on this show on Fit Down, it means the summer of greatness is coming. The summer of greatness will be here, and we have already confirmed it. We will be live at Z's Cafe on Sundays. We will be going live with our Summer of Greatness tournaments. We'll do them live from the bar. Of course, we'll be on Blog Talk, so you can call in. We'll be on YouTube, so anyone who wants to get involved can get involved, and we will talk about all of that. So with that, to everybody that showed up in the chat, to Latina, to David Glenn, to A Pizzle, to all the people that showed up, look, if you have a comment on this, if you have a comment on anything I've said, drop a note below. We will address it. We'll address it in comment form. We'll also address it live on the next stream. Any comments we get, we address them. We take your criticism, as we always say. Tell me why you're wrong. Tell me where I went wrong. Tell me what your thoughts are, and we can have a discussion. So we're all for that here. So we'll be glad to do that. We'll get that done, and we will see y'all in the next video. Again, hit that like button, subscribe, share, do all the YouTube things. Go to any of, if you think my review is chaotic, if you want to compare my review, go to your favorite reviewer. Send me your favorite. Send me to your favorite reviewer so I can check out what they said about it. I'm always looking for other people to see what other people are thinking. I told you what I think. I want to know what y'all think. So that's what we got going. In the future, we will be doing, as I said, Summer of Greatness. We'll be doing more fifth down shows during the week, more setting the scene during the week, and we'll get all of that going. So all of that, thanks to everybody that showed up. Thanks to everybody that checked it out. And of course, we will see y'all in the next one and get that done. All right. On that note, and we'll play a clip. As with anything that we do here. Anything that was said here, just remember this.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I've ever heard. At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.